Supreme Court today declined to stop a ban of TikTok, which is now set to take effect on Sunday.
TikTok, as you know, is one of the most popular social media apps in the country with 170 million users in the U.S. alone. Katie Culver is a director and professor at the UW-Madison School of Journalism. Welcome back, Katie.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Thanks so much for having me.
So the justices ruled unanimously, which was also interesting, that labeling TikTok a national security risk does not violate the First Amendment rights of its users. And that's your lane, the First Amendment. That's why we were so grateful to have you to talk about this today. How significant a decision is this?
It's a tremendously significant decision, but I think it's widely misunderstood. The arguments, people interpreting the decision today, this was really a question about where TikTok in the U.S. can assert its rights while it is owned by a foreign adversary. So that's really what the court was focused on with the national security aspect.
And it's more about gathering information than the content of the site.
Exactly. What the court ruled was that this was not a content-based regulation, so it falls in sort of this intermediate level of what's called constitutional scrutiny. And I was a little bit surprised that it was a unanimous decision based on the oral arguments, but it seems like there was a lot of alignment.
And I think a lot of people are wondering, and under the bridge of national security, again, that's the main point, but you know, I think some would argue TikTok has a better data privacy collection than other things like Meta and X, which are using people's platforms to train AI methodology, et cetera, et cetera. So I think a lot of people out there are wondering, well, why is this one worse than Facebook, than Twitter? Do you have an answer for that?
Well, because those are not owned by a foreign adversary. And ultimately, ByteDance is the company that we're talking about, and ByteDance cannot assert any First Amendment rights because it is not a U.S. corporation. So TikTok is incorporated in the United States, but it's that ByteDance ownership that's different. Believe me, I wish far more consumers were skeptical and concerned about their data privacy with Meta and with X and other social media. I think probably Snapchat is the big data safety winner. That's the one I would point to. And I think something that gets lost, a lot of people say, you know, so many young people are on TikTok and it's that generation's social media, but I believe more youth under 18 are on Snapchat than are on TikTok.
Interesting.
Yeah, my niece and nephew are. That's kind of their main thing. Yeah.
So what do we expect to happen on Sunday?
No one knows. If you had asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said, oh, they'll spin it out. They'll make a last-minute decision to sell. But then some data came out about U.S. users being less valuable to ByteDance than a lot of us had assumed they were. So they're about 20% of revenue. I would have assumed it was easily double that. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. The one thing I can say with certainty is that come that date, it will no longer be available in the Google or Apple stores. The fines on them for not complying with the law are significant, so they will be complying.
Does it concern you at all, the precedent that this sets for not even other social media, but even websites, if there's a morality issue? You know, could we see this as a slippery slope of pushing down free speech in the First Amendment?
No, I have a friend who called it a dark day for the First Amendment, and I don't see it in the same way. There certainly are civil libertarians who are concerned. Any kind of regulation that you do in this space does raise those concerns, but this was a very narrow law, and the decision by the court is very narrowly written. So no, I don't have sweeping concerns. I do have sweeping concerns about how much we have all surrendered our privacy to these apps. And one of the points on TikTok that differentiates it from others is that those users, when they sign up, give access to their contacts. So my data is swept up because my daughter agreed to have it swept up. I never agreed, and that's a big problem for apps.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for being on with us and talking to us about this.
Absolutely delighted to be with you.
Thank you, Katie.